The Cyberpunk reviews are in. Buggy and beautiful. Perfect scores from some outlets and really low scores from others. Hi, this is Jake, your resident content cowboy here, yeehaw, and I'm here to take you through a little review roundup from some of these Cyberpunk reviews. Now, obviously there are tons of great reviews for you to check out. And of course, just like anything, we're going to spend a little more time probably on the ones that stick out than the ones that are in line with what everyone says. Right now, it's sitting at a 91 on Metacritic. And if you want to get a review from someone who doesn't give it a score, but I think has a really great breakdown, I've just got this video here. Check out YongYea. I love YongYea. And he has a great Cyberpunk breakdown on his channel. And it looks like Cyberpunk is lining up about exactly where we expected it to be. In this video, I want to talk to you about how predictable some of these reviews are and what is going to make a good review as opposed to a bad review. So let's hop into it. We're going to start off with some of the less than stellar reviews. Buggy and Beautiful over here from Venture Beat. Let me see if I've got their Cyberpunk review. This one is particularly low, if I remember right. Cyberpunk, a look at the present, not the future. So a lot of this review talks about how Cyberpunk is not a brilliant next-gen game, but really a summation of everything we've seen in this current generation, which, to be fair to CD Projekt Red, I mean, they're making a game for previous gen. I know even gen doesn't really fully check out because they make games on PCs and stuff too, but they didn't make a PS5 or Xbox Series X game. They made a previous gen game. So let's take a look at some of this. No game has all these things. Oh, sorry. The problem is that the world of Cyberpunk suggests so much possibility. The mega buildings that make up the city's skyline suggest vast interior spaces that don't really exist. Merchants with a finite number of euro dollars suggest a simulated economy that isn't in the game. The bustling streets suggest the potential for emergent story moments that almost never really happen. And of course, no game has all these things on top of everything Cyberpunk does offer, but the point is that Cyberpunk 2077 is so ambitious that you expect more from it. And when something's missing, it hurts the entire experience. Yeah, interesting. A lot of the game is there to look good. And that's fine, but it means I don't want to spend a lot of time wandering around the world. If the environment primarily exists to look dope in the background while I'm doing the quest, then I'll probably mostly stick to the main story, see what happens, then bounce. It's fine to make a game like that. For many, that's the promise of Cyberpunk 2077. It just wasn't the promise to me. So this is a review talking about the expectations of Cyberpunk and kind of where it came down for this person. Now, of course, we all go in with our own biases and own expectations. It reminds me of when a friend tells you a movie is awful. Oh my God, it's terrible, the worst. Oh my God, we hated it. And then, you don't see it because you trust your buddy. And then maybe a year or two later, it kind of pops up on Netflix and you put it on and you think, this isn't so bad, because your expectations were so low. And if your expectations are so high, then you can be disappointed by it. One thing that we see in every review about Cyberpunk is how buggy it is. I've talked about this in the past. I don't mind bugs in games, and I don't mind some jank, but clearly this game has released and is not, even with the day one patch, which a lot of these reviewers have been able to sink some time into, even with the day one patch, it's still really messy and really buggy. A review, I think from, is it GameSpot? No, PC Gamer. I really liked what they said at the end here. I found it moving and life-affirming in the final moments. Even in the face of near certain death and relentless onslaught of bugs, I suppose it's an appropriate thematic through line. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game about V coming apart at the seams, in a city coming apart at the seams, in a game coming apart at the seams. Play it in a few months. This is just something that happens so much with gaming these days. Every game released is a mess. It's such a mess. I don't know what... It's disappointing because they are punishing their most rabid fans by giving them their weakest version of the product. But That's where we are. That's where we are in gaming. This is not a fault of Cyberpunk itself. This is every single game released. If you heard me talk anything about Assassin's Creed, you know that game is buggy as all get out. As all get out. All right, let's head back to some of these reviews. There are a lot of positive reviews of Cyberpunk. I mean, perfect scores. Despite its flaws, it's one of the most consistently astounding pieces of media I've ever had the pleasure of consuming. That's from God as a Geek. CD Projekt Red has set a new standard for what can be achieved in this sandbox. Cyberpunk 27 D7, come on, Jake, is taking open world gaming to the next generation. Cyberpunk 2077 biggest achievement is Night City, the most fascinating city in video game history so far. I mean, this is wild when you see perfect scores, and then you also see a couple scores. I think that Cyberpunk 2077 delivers big budget gaming thrills that many people are looking for, but it falls short in a few key areas for me, and a lot of that comes as a byproduct of its ambition. Now, one thing that you will notice is how many points get knocked off because of your, I don't want to say political leanings, because I don't think that's really it, but I guess social leanings might be more accurate. For instance, over here at GameSpot, the good and the bad. There's plenty of flexibility in the RPG mechanics. Quick hacking combat is satisfying to execute. Side quests and characters are more interesting in human moments. Keanu Reeves' Johnny Silverhand adds dimension to nearly every quest. The bad. There's so much to do that isn't meaningful. Superficial and often edgy aesthetic choices often have no real purpose, which makes them grating rather than adding anything relevant to the world. The incorporation of different cultures and backgrounds is wildly inconsistent, from good to inaccurate to downright offensive. And there are a few reviews that echo sentiments like this. I don't know if I have them all pulled up. Female character writing feels misogynistic at times. Bugs, everyone's talking about bugs. But basically, if you don't like socially where this game is, you're knocking review points away. You get a 7, you get a 4 out of 5, you get a 6 out of 10. If you don't like some of the game's, I guess, edgier moments, for lack of a better term, because it's not just edginess, but if you don't like some of those game's moments, your review goes way, way down. Way down. Your review goes a lot lower. Even if you look at the high scores, right at the bottom of them are people who don't like some of those moments. Over here from PC Gamer, from Screen Rant. It's just clear to me that, like anything, your social leanings will change the score of this game, but it's interesting that it has to. It's interesting that these reviewers decide that they're going to knock 10 points off, which seems to be what it is. I think they're shaving about 10 points off if they don't like socially where this game sits. And I know we expected that, but it is a little disappointing to see. On the other hand, some people are giving this game a perfect score. And maybe the people who are giving this game a perfect score are allowing themselves to look past some of the bugs, which appear to be rampant and intense. So that's where we are right now with the Cyberpunk 2077 reviews. There's a lot of them out there, a lot of perfect scores, and of course some low scores that are going to continue to come in for this game. Where will it sit at the end of this? I think probably around a 90 Metascore will be about right. I'm really curious to see what the user reviews will end up saying, because unless something is review bombed, I think the user reviews often sit a little closer to how the game really turned out, rather than saying it was perfect, or rather than saying that the game had a lot of issues. But we'll have to see. And we'll have to see if that day one patch really ends up doing a lot for the game. So there you go. A little review roundup for Cyberpunk 2077. I'll continue to follow a lot of what's going on with it as it unfolds, because this game is just super interesting and I'm really excited to play it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, a like, a comment. If you didn't, you could give it a dislike. Let me know what you didn't like about it. I'd love to hear that too. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Mwah! Goodbye.